The exclusive Hawthorne Ridge shooting complex hummed with excitement as Diana Mercer pushed open the heavy glass doors. The facility stood as a temple to precision marksmanship with polished concrete floors, state-of-the-art firing lanes, and the pervasive smell of gun, oil, and ambition. Today marked the unveiling of the X-7 Peregrine, billed as the world's most advanced robotic skeet system, with flight patterns so unpredictable that champion shooters found them nearly impossible to track. The event had drawn firearms enthusiasts from across the country, including representatives from major manufacturers and military contractors. Diana adjusted her simple canvas bag on her shoulder, feeling distinctly out of place among the sea of tactical gear and designer shooting vests. At 52, her auburn hair now threaded with silver and crow's feet marking the corners of her eyes. She appeared to be exactly what she'd carefully cultivated for the past 15 years. Unremarkable. Her faded jeans, navy cardigan, and worn boots suggested a weekend hobbyist at best, certainly, not someone who belonged at an invitation-only demonstration of cutting-edge shooting technology. She'd chosen this outfit deliberately, as she had done countless times before when she wanted to blend into the background. "Excuse me, ma'am." The reception attendant, a young man with a carefully groomed beard and the toned arms of someone who spent more time at the gym than the range, barely glanced up from his computer. The basic instruction courses are held on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Today's a private event. His tone carried the casual dismissal of someone who had already assessed her worth based on appearance alone. Diana had grown accustomed to such judgments. In fact, she cultivated them. Diana placed her membership card on the counter with unhurried movements. "I'm aware. I received an invitation from Tyler Matthews." The attendant's eyebrows lifted as he examined her 10-year-old standard membership card, the lowest tier Hawthorne offered. He tapped at his keyboard, frowning slightly as he scrolled through the guest list. There must be some mistake. Today's demonstration is exclusively for platinum-level members and special guests of quantum dynamics. I don't see your name anywhere on the approved list. Before Diana could respond, a booming voice cut through the conversation. "Problem at the front desk. Jenkins?" Maxwell Reed, Hawthorne's owner and manager, approached with the confident stride of a man accustomed to command. His custom-tailored shooting jacket, emblazoned with sponsorship patches from major firearms manufacturers, matched his reputation as a 5-time national champion before retiring to run the country's most prestigious shooting facility. "This lady claims Tyler invited her to the X-7 demonstration," Jenkins explained with barely concealed condescension. Reed's steel-gray eyes assessed Diana with a quick, dismissive sweep that she recognized all too well, the look of a man registering female, older, and amateur in rapid succession. "Tyler's not in charge of the guest list," Reed stated flatly. "Today's event is for serious marksmen only." His emphasis on the final word made his position clear. This was no place for middle-aged women in cardigans. "I understand," Diana replied evenly, her voice betraying none of the amusement she felt at his presumption. "But Tyler specifically asked me to evaluate the Peregrine system. If you'd like to check with him..." "Listen, Miss Mercer." Diana Mercer. "Miss Mercer, the X-7 Peregrine isn't some carnival game. We're talking about a system that can accelerate from 0 to 80 miles per hour in under a second, with randomized vector changes that even Olympic shooters find challenging. We have investors and industry professionals here today. We don't have time for..." "Max!" A lanky man in his 30s hurried across the lobby, his quantum dynamics polo shirt, identifying him as part of the tech company showcasing the new system. "Sorry I'm late with the final calibrations. We had to adjust the tertiary flight protocols after this morning's test runs." He stopped short upon seeing Diana, his expression transforming from harried to genuinely pleased. "Miss May, you made it?" Reed's brow furrowed deeper, creating a pronounced crease between his eyebrows. Tyler, you know this woman? Tyler Matthews nodded enthusiastically. Diana was my ballistics instructor he caught himself. Noticing Diana's subtle head shake, she's an old friend. Outstanding shooter. I specifically asked her to come today. Her feedback would be invaluable for the final development phase. The confusion on Reed's face hardened into annoyance. His jaw setting in a tight line. Tyler? We agreed the demonstration would include only top-tier professionals. The Japanese investors are here, along with 3 Olympic medalists and the entire Remington Pro staff. This isn't the time for personal guests. Tyler opened his mouth to argue further, but Diana placed a gentle hand on his arm. She had no interest in creating a scene of visibility, was precisely what she had spent years avoiding. Diana remained silent, allowing the men's conversation to flow around her. She'd grown accustomed to being underestimated, had cultivated invisibility as both protection and strategy. For 15 years, she'd carefully maintained her cover as a community college physics instructor who occasionally enjoyed recreational shooting. Few people knew that Diana Mercer was once Captain Diana Walsh, the military's leading expert in predictive ballistics and holder of the longest confirmed elimination shot in special operations history. She stays. Tyler insisted with unexpected firmness, squaring his shoulders against his boss's disapproval. Trust me, Max, you'll want her input. She understands trajectory mathematics better than anyone I've ever met. Reed's jaw tightened, but business interests apparently outweighed his objections. Quantum Dynamics was investing millions in the X7 project, and Tyler was their lead systems engineer. Alienating him before the demonstration would be bad business. Fine, he relented with poor grace, but she observes from the back. The spotlight stays on our featured shooters. We have a carefully choreographed presentation for the investors. Without waiting for acknowledgement, he turned and strode away, already calling out greetings to a group of expensively dressed men near the entrance to the demonstration area. Sorry about that, Tyler murmured as he escorted Diana past the reception desk. I should have warned you about the Shark Tank. It's been nothing but egos and politics since Quantum partnered with Hawthorne. Diana shrugged, unbothered. I'm used to being the invisible woman. Tyler, you know that. Still, his voice dropped further as they moved through the corridor leading to the main range. They have no idea who you really are, do they? What you did in Sangin or Mosul? Diana's expression remained neutral, but her eyes flicked momentarily to ensure no one was within earshot. And they never will, she replied with quiet finality. Those records are sealed for good reason. I'm just Diana Mercer, physics teacher, here to see your fancy new toy. Tu l'as grenouille? His earlier tension evaporating. It's more than a toy. The X7 is revolutionary quantum computing, predictive flight algorithms, micro-adjusting stabilizers. We've run it against 12 champion shooters during development. Highest hit rate was 32%, and that was Olympian Carter Wells on the beginner setting. His enthusiasm was infectious, reminding Diana why she'd always liked Tyler. As a junior engineer assigned to her unit years ago, he'd shown the same boundless excitement for technical challenges. And the advanced setting? She asked as they approached the viewing area. Tyler's expression became almost reverent. 0 hits. Not a single marksman has connected. Not even once. That's why I wanted you here. I need someone who understands the mathematics behind the system. As they approached the demonstration area, Diana took in the elaborate setup with a professionally analytical eye. The traditional Skeet field had been transformed with sensors, cameras, and a central launching platform housing what appeared to be a collection of miniature drones rather than conventional clay pigeons. A large screen displayed real-time performance metrics, currently showing a distinguished-looking man in professional shooting attire attempting to track one of the devices. Despite his obvious skill, his shot passed harmlessly behind the erratically moving target. Damn it! The shooter lowered his custom Beretta in frustration as a red miss flashed on the screen, accompanied by a technical readout showing the distance between his shot pattern and the target. "That's the 7th straight miss for three-time national champion Richard Thornton," announced a polished female presenter in a quantum dynamics blazer. "As you can see, the X7 Peregrine's advanced evasion algorithms make it nearly impossible to track using conventional leading techniques," the assembled VIPs murmured appreciatively. Impressed by technology that could humble even celebrated marksmen, Diana observed silently from the periphery, her trained eye detecting patterns in what appeared to casual observers as random movement. There was something familiar in the flight paths, a mathematical signature she recognized from her work in predictive ballistics. "Next up," the presenter continued, gesturing toward the shooting platform, "we have Olympic silver medalist Carter Wells attempting the intermediate difficulty setting." A fit man in his 30s approached the shooting position, his sponsored gear immaculate and his manner confident despite having witnessed his colleague's failure. He loaded his over-under shotgun with practiced precision, checking the action before settling into his stance. "Ready?" he announced, then called, "Pull." The drone launched with incredible speed, its flight path immediately more complex than the previous demonstration. Wells tracked it with exceptional skill, firing twice in rapid succession. The audience gasped as the first shot missed narrowly, but the second connected, sending the drone spiraling to the ground as the display flashed, "Hit, 47% effectiveness." Applause erupted as Wells nodded in acknowledgement, though Diana noted the tight set of his shoulders and the slight furrow in his brow. One hit from 2 shells wasn't the performance an Olympic medalist expected from himself. "Impressive," the presenter beamed, stepping back into the spotlight. "Our first successful hit today on the intermediate setting. Of course, in a hunting or competitive situation, that second shell might not be available." Maxwell Reed stepped forward, clapping Wells on the shoulder with the forced camaraderie of someone more interested in the appearance of friendship than its substance. "Outstanding shooting, Carter. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Wells will now attempt the advanced setting, the level our engineers designed to be virtually unhittable." Diana's attention sharpened as a hush fell over the crowd. The mathematical challenge intrigued her professional curiosity. During her military career, she had developed systems specifically designed to predict and intercept moving targets at extreme velocity kills that had made her both valuable and dangerous. She studied the launching mechanism with renewed interest, noting the subtle adjustments being made by technicians. This was clearly the main event, the demonstration calculated to impress investors and industry professionals alike. "The advanced setting incorporates our proprietary multi-vector evasion system," the presenter explained. "The drone's flight path is determined by a quantum algorithm that makes it functionally unpredictable, mimicking the evasive maneuvers of combat aircraft." Diana's eyebrow raised slightly at this description. Quantum computing was indeed revolutionary, but the principles of physics remained constant. No movement was truly unpredictable if one understood the underlying mathematics. Wells reset his position, face set in concentration, as he called for the release. The drone launched with explosive acceleration, immediately executing a complex evasion pattern, even to Diana's trained eye. It moved with remarkable speed and agility, its trajectory seemingly random as it corkscrewed through the air, before abruptly vector shifting at angles that suggested military-grade evasion protocols. Wells tracked admirably, leading the target with textbook precision, but both shots missed clearly, not even coming close as the drone zipped away unscathed. A double miss flashed on the screen, followed by telemetry data showing just how far off both attempts had been. Wells lowered his shotgun, professional enough to hide his frustration but clearly perturbed. "That's not just difficult, it's impossible," he stated flatly. "No human can track that pattern. The directional changes defy standard prediction." Reed smiled with the satisfaction of a successful demonstration. That's precisely the point. Carter, the X7 advanced setting represents the future of marksmanship training. If you can even come close to hitting this, conventional targets will seem stationary by comparison. Our engineers designed the advanced protocol specifically to exceed human capability, the presenter added, her rehearsed speech flowing smoothly. It's the perfect training challenge, always just beyond reach, pushing shooters to continuously improve. As the crowd discussed the impressive technology, Diana leaned closer to Tyler, keeping her voice low. The flight algorithm isn't random, she whispered, her eyes tracking the drone as it was reset for the next demonstration. It's based on the Karpov-Nissen model, isn't it? Tyler's eyes widened in surprise, his head jerking toward her. How could you possibly know that? It's proprietary to Quantum. We've never published the mathematical foundation because I helped develop the original model 15 years ago, she replied quietly, keeping her face neutral to avoid drawing attention. Military application. Target intercept prediction for missile defense systems. Tyler's expression shifted from surprise to concern, his voice dropping even further. That's classified technology. Quantum claims they developed it independently. Diana's lips pressed into a thin line. I'd need to see the code to be certain. But those movement patterns are distinctive. The triple-axis rotation followed by the fourth-dimensional vector shift, that's not something you develop by coincidence. Has anyone from the military reviewed this system? Not that I'm aware of. The company insists it's entirely proprietary. Tyler's brow furrowed as he processed the implications. Diana, if what you're suggesting is true, Mr. Matthews, Reed's voice cut through their hushed conversation. He approached with the confident stride of someone used to commanding attention, several investors trailing in his wake. Since you're so keen on bringing guests to our exclusive event, perhaps your friend would like to try her hand? His tone carried the unmistakable edge of mockery, clearly expecting embarrassment to follow. Diana felt all eyes turned toward her, unassuming woman in casual clothes among professionals in specialized gear. The room seemed to hold a collective breath, anticipating the entertainment of seeing an amateur humiliated by technology that had just defeated champions. I'm sure Miss Mercer would rather observe. Reed continued with false graciousness. The advanced setting has defeated Olympic medalists today. We wouldn't want to put a hobbyist in an uncomfortable position. Several spectators chuckled, already enjoying the prospect of watching the middle-aged woman fail where professionals had struggled. Diana met Reed's gaze evenly, letting the moment stretch just long enough for his smirk to begin to falter. I'd be happy to try. A ripple of surprised murmurs spread through the audience, followed by poorly concealed smirks and exchanged glances. She recognized the expressions, had seen them countless times during her military career, when men underestimated her capabilities based solely on gender and appearance. It was precisely this underestimation that had made her so effective in the field. Excellent, Reed's smile widened, anticipating the spectacle. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a volunteer from the general membership. Miss Mercer will attempt the advanced setting that is proven unbeatable by our professional demonstrators. As Diana calmly walked to the shooting position, she assessed the setup with practiced efficiency, noting the wind conditions, ambient lighting, and the subtle mechanical tells of the launching system. The years might have passed, but her training remained ingrained. Automatic. She accepted the offered shotgun, a high-end Beretta Silver Pigeon, rather than her preferred Browning, checked its weight and balance with subtle movements that only a trained observer would recognize as professional assessment rather than nervous handling. The action was smooth, well maintained. The previous shooter had left it properly broken open. Have you ever participated in competitive shooting? Miss Mercer? Reed asked loudly enough for the audience to hear. Setting the stage for her expected failure, Diana loaded the shotgun with the shells provided, feeling dozens of eyes watching her with a mixture of amusement and secondhand embarrassment. Just recreationally, she answered, deliberately understating her experience. Well, don't be discouraged when you miss, Reed said with exaggerated kindness. As you've seen, even our champions couldn't hit the advanced target. This is really just to demonstrate how the system challenges shooters at all levels. Diana didn't respond. Instead, settling into her stanza movement so fluid and balanced that Carter Wells, watching from nearby, straightened slightly in recognition of proper technique. His eyes narrowed as he observed her grip and posture, clearly reassessing his initial impression. Whenever you're ready, the presenter prompted, unable to completely hide her amusement at what everyone expected would be an embarrassing failure. Diana took a slow, centering breath, her mind shifting into the operational focus that had once made her legendary within classified circles. Time seemed to slow as she accessed the part of herself she'd kept dormant for 15 years, the calculating precision that had made her the military's most effective specialty marksman, her senses heightened in familiar ways, ambient sounds fading as her vision sharpened, her proprioception tuning to the weight of the gun, the pressure of the trigger against her finger, the subtle air currents against her skin. This state, this perfect fusion of mind and body, had once been as natural to her as breathing. Pull, she said quietly. The Peregrine drone launched with explosive acceleration, immediately executing its complex evasion pattern. To the audience, it appeared as an almost invisible blur, its movements too quick and unpredictable for the eye to track effectively. But Diana wasn't tracking with her eyes alone. She was calculating, predicting the mathematical pattern she herself had helped develop years earlier. In the milliseconds between launch and shot, her mind processed variables that would have required a computer for most marksmen: launch velocity, wind resistance, programmet evasion protocols, and the subtle tells in the drone's initial movement that indicated its planned trajectory. Her shotgun rose, following not where the drone was, but where her calculations told her it would be in precisely 0:37 seconds. The motion was so smooth it appeared almost lazy compared to the intense efforts of the previous shooters. She fired once. The crack of the shotgun was followed by an immediate explosion of composite materials as the drone disintegrated mid-air, struck dead center by Diana's shot. Fragments rained down onto the field as the tracking system froze. The hit 100% effectiveness display flashing on the screen in bright green letters. Complete silence fell over the demonstration area. Diana calmly broke open the shotgun, extracted the unfired shell, and handed the weapon back to the stunned range assistant. Her movements were unhurried, as if what she had just accomplished was entirely routine. Impossible, someone whispered, breaking the silence. Maxwell Reed stared at Diana with naked shock. His carefully maintained composure shattered. That must have been a malfunction in the system, or a lucky shot. The quantum dynamics presenter frantically checked her tablet, tapping through screens with increasing urgency. The system is functioning normally. That was a clean hit. 100% effectiveness rating. Her voice conveyed professional neutrality, but her wide eyes revealed her astonishment. Carter Wells stepped forward, examining Diana with new interest. That wasn't luck, he said definitively. I've been shooting competitively for 20 years. No one tracks and leads like that by accident. He extended his hand to Diana. Remarkable shooting. Miss Mercer. Diana accepted the handshake with a modest nod. Thank you. Reed's face had flushed deep red, his wounded pride manifesting as anger. I want to see that again. One hit could be a fluke. Max Tuller began, but Diana cut him off with a small shake of her head. I'm happy to try again, she said, her calm tone contrasting sharply with Reed's obvious agitation. The crowd, now fully engaged, pressed closer to the demonstration area. The previous dismissive attitude had transformed into intense curiosity Who was this unassuming woman who had just accomplished what champions could not? The quantum representative reset the system, her movements betraying nervousness as she glanced between Diana and her supervisors, who had moved closer to observe this unexpected development. Diana accepted the reloaded shotgun, resuming her stance with the same calm efficiency. "Pull," she called. The second drone launched with identical speed but a different evasion pattern, this one even more aggressive. With sharper directional changes and variable acceleration, Diana fired once. The drone exploded into fragments. Another perfect hit. This time, spontaneous applause broke out among the observers. Even the Japanese investors, previously stoic, were now recording the demonstration on their phones, excitedly conversing among themselves. Again, Ride demanded, his voice tight with suppressed emotion. Different launch sequence, a third drone, a third perfect shot. A fourth drone, launched on a completely new vector, Diana tracked it effortlessly, shattering it with another center hit. The crowd had grown larger now, word spreading throughout the facility about the unexpected display of marksmanship. By the fifth demonstration, the mood had shifted completely. The audience now watched Diana with reverence, witnessing something they'd been told was impossible being accomplished with apparent ease. The technical team huddled nervously, comparing notes and checking their equipment, clearly disturbed by what they were witnessing. "This can't be happening," one technician muttered loudly enough to be overheard. "The advanced pattern is mathematically designed to exceed human tracking capability." Diana handed the shotgun back after her fifth consecutive perfect hit. Feeling the weight of dozens of stares, she had not intended to reveal her capabilities so dramatically, but the system's questionable origins had forced her hand. If Quantum was indeed using classified military algorithms without authorization, it needed to be addressed. After the fifth consecutive perfect hit, a distinguished man in a tailored suit approached from the back of the gathered crowd where he had been observing quietly. His military bearing was unmistakable despite his civilian clothes, and his purposeful stride parted the crowd automatically. "That's enough, I think," he said with quiet authority. "Miss Mercer has clearly demonstrated mastery of the system." Diana stiffened imperceptibly, recognizing the voice before she turned to confirm her suspicion. General James Harrington, former commander of Special Operations Command, and her one-time superior officer, stood watching her with knowing eyes. At 65, his hair had gone completely silver, but his posture remained ramrod straight, his presence commanding respect without effort. "General," she acknowledged with a slight nod, her calm exterior masking surprise. Harrington's presence was no coincidence, and potentially problematic for her carefully maintained cover. "You two know each other?" Reed asked, glancing between them with growing confusion. "We've crossed paths," Harrington replied vaguely before addressing the group. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for the interruption, but I need to speak with Miss Mercer and the Quantum Dynamics team privately. Military matter." The authoritative tone brooked no argument, and within minutes, Diana found herself in Hawthorne's executive conference room with General Harrington, Tyler, and three increasingly uncomfortable quantum executives. The wood-paneled room, designed to impress clients with its leather chairs and panoramic views of the range, now felt like an interrogation chamber. Would someone care to explain? Harrington began once the door closed, his voice deceptively conversational. "How classified military technology developed under Project Hawkeye has found its way into a civilian shooting system." The senior quantum executive, a sleek woman in her 40s named Dr. Elizabeth Voss, according to her name badge, maintained her corporate composure. "General, I assure you, the X7 Peregrine utilizes entirely proprietary algorithms developed by our team. Any similarity to military systems is coincidental." "Coincidental?" Harrington's eyebrow raised as he leaned back in his chair. Captain Walsher Mercer. As she goes by, now helped develop those algorithms. She recognized them immediately. As would anyone who worked on the original project, Diana remained silent, mentally calculating the implications of her cover being compromised. 15 years of carefully constructed anonymity, potentially undone by a chance encounter with her former commanding officer. Part of her wanted to be angry with Harrington for using her real name. But the larger issue of classified technology demanded attention. I don't know what you're implying, Doctor, Voss replied coolly, but quantum dynamics has never had access to classified military research. Then perhaps you can explain why your proprietary system uses the exact same predictive vector sequencing that Captain Walsh pioneered for missile intercept technology that remains classified at the highest levels. Harrington's voice remained even, but carried unmistakable steel. He turned to one of the other executives. Mr. Reese, you worked at Northrop Grumman until 2020, correct? Defense Systems Division? The man shifted uncomfortably in his seat. That's correct. But I never had access to. I'm not interested in personal denials. Harrington interrupted. I'm interested in how classified algorithmic sequences developed for national security applications are now being marketed as civilian entertainment. Tyler cleared his throat nervously. Sir, I only joined the development team 6 months ago. I noticed similarities to systems I'd encountered during my military service, but was assured our algorithms were independently developed. Harrington nodded. I believe you, Matthews, but someone at Quantum has some explaining to do. He turned to Diana. I need your assessment. Captain, is this the Hawkeye algorithm? Diana weighed her options carefully. Her instinct was to protect her identity, but the implications of classified military technology being commercialized were serious. If Quantum was using stolen intellectual property, it represented both a security breach and a potential danger if the technology was reverse engineered. It's definitely derived from Hawkeye, she confirmed after a moment's consideration. The core predictive engine is unmistakable. Though they've modified the implementation for this application, the fourth-dimensional vector calculations, particularly those, were unique to our project. The Quantum executives exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them. We may have incorporated some existing research. Dr. Voss admitted reluctantly, choosing her words with obvious care. One of our lead developers previously worked as a contractor at White Sands. Espionage, Harrington stated flatly. Industrial and military espionage. This technology was developed for national security applications, not for selling overpriced training systems to shooting ranges. The tension in the room was palpable as the executives realized the gravity of their situation. Unauthorized use of classified military technology carried severe penalties, both for the company and for individuals involved. General, Diana interjected quietly, may I speak with you privately for a moment? Harrington nodded, and they stepped outside into a small anteroom, leaving the Quantum team to contemplate their precarious position. You've compromised my cover, Diana said once they were alone, keeping her voice low despite the closed door. 15 years of anonymity blown in 5 minutes? Harrington's expression softened slightly, the stern general giving way momentarily to the man who had once been her mentor. I apologize for that, Diana. It wasn't intentional. I came because intelligence flagged unusual activity around restricted algorithms. I had no idea you'd be here. Diana paced the small room, her mind racing. What happens now? To Quantum. Investigation. Probable charges for the individuals responsible. The technology will be contained. He studied her face. As for you, your record remains classified. Your identity is still protected officially, but not practically, Diana countered, stopping to face him directly. Not when a 3-star general calls me Captain Walsh in front of civilians. Not when I just demonstrated skills that don't align with my cover identity. Harrington acknowledged this with a slight grimace. Point taken. But perhaps it's time to consider coming in from the cold, so to speak. The agency has been asking about you. Diana's expression hardened. I left that life for good reasons. James. Reasons that haven't changed. The work has changed, he replied, his tone earnest. We're not asking you to return to field operations. Your analytical skills, your understanding of predictive systems, they're needed now more than ever. The landscape of technological warfare is evolving rapidly. Into what? More efficient ways to kill at a distance? The bitterness in her voice surprised even her. I've made my peace with teaching physics to undergraduates who can barely grasp basic calculus. It's quiet. It's normal. Is it enough? Harrington asked simply. Before Diana could respond, the conference room door opened, and Maxwell Reed emerged. His earlier arrogance replaced by subdued curiosity. General, the quantum representatives would like to continue this discussion at their headquarters with appropriate legal counsel, he said, then turned to Diana. Miss Mercerer, Captain Walsh. Apparently I owe you an apology. I made assumptions that were clearly inaccurate. Diana nodded in acknowledgement but offered no easy absolution. Reed's apology was born of embarrassment, not genuine regret for his condescension. The conference room door opened again, and the three quantum executives filed out, escorted by two individuals who hadn't been present earlier, government types, whose suits couldn't quite disguise their military bearing. Harrington's quick work. No doubt. Captain Walsh. Dr. Voss said as she passed. Our CTO would very much like to speak with you about consulting opportunities. Once this misunderstanding is resolved. It's Mercer, Diana corrected firmly, and I'm not interested in consulting. As the quantum executives were escorted out, Diana found herself facing a decision point, her carefully constructed life as Diana Mercer Quiet. Unremarkable. Safe had been irrevocably altered. The shooting display alone would generate questions. Even without Harrington's inadvertent revelation of her military background, Carter Wells approached as she collected her belongings from a side table, his earlier professional interest now transformed into undisguised admiration. I've never seen shooting like that, he said, hands in his pockets to appear casual despite his obvious excitement. Whatever your background is, you've got a gift that shouldn't be wasted. Have you ever considered competition? With skills like yours, I'm happy teaching physics. Diana interrupted gently but firmly. Today was an exception. Wells looked skeptical but didn't press further. Well, if you ever change your mind, I coach the Olympic development team. We could use someone with your precision. He handed her a business card before walking away, shaking his head slightly in continued amazement. As Diana made her way toward the exit, she found Tyler waiting anxiously in the lobby, his lanky frame pacing back and forth beneath the impressive display of mounted championship trophies. I'm so sorry, he began immediately upon seeing her, his words tumbling out in a rush. I had no idea any of this would happen. I just wanted your expert opinion on the system. I never imagined it was using classified algorithms, or that General Harrington would be here, or that you'd end up. It's not your fault, Diana assured him, placing a calming hand on his arm. You couldn't have known? Tyler ran a hand through his already disheveled hair. Are you in trouble? Because of the demonstration? Diana considered the question carefully. Trouble wasn't the right word. Complication. Perhaps. Exposure. Certainly. No. Not trouble. But things have become complicated. What will you do now? It was the fundamental question, and one she'd been considering since the moment she recognized the Hawkeye algorithm in the Peregrine's flight patterns. 15 years ago, she had walked away from a world of classified operations and lethal precision not because she lacked skill, but because of what that skill had cost her. The weight of lives taken through a scope had become too heavy to bear. After her final missiona, high-value target elimination that had gone exactly as planned operationally, but had revealed the target's family present in violation of all intelligence reports. She had made her decision. She couldn't control how her skills were used. Once she provided the capability, "I'll continue teaching," she decided aloud. "My students have finals next week." Tyler looked surprised. "Even after today? After being recognized?" Diana smiled slightly. "Being recognized as an excellent shot at a gun range doesn't change who I am or what I want from my life." She adjusted her bag on her shoulder. "Though I might need to find a new shooting range. I doubt Mr. Reed will be enthusiastic about my continued membership here." "Are you kidding? After today? He'll probably offer you free lifetime membership just to have your name associated with Hawthorne." Tyler laughed. "You're the only person who's ever hit the advanced target. That's marketing gold." Diana doubted it would be quite so simple, but she appreciated Tyler's attempt to lighten the mood. "I should go. Will you be all right with the investigation?" Tyler nodded. "I really didn't know about the algorithm source. My security clearance records will confirm I never had access to Hawkeye." They said their goodbyes, with Tyler promising to call once the dust settled on the quantum situation. As Diana pushed through the doors into the parking lot, she found General Harrington waiting beside her modest sedan, his driver keeping a respectful distance in a black SUV nearby. "One last thing," he said, handing her a secure phone. "When you're ready to talk about the consulting position at fieldwork, just analysis, call this number. The country still needs minds like yours." Diana. Perhaps now more than ever. Diana accepted the phone without commitment, turning it over in her palm once before tucking it into her bag as she unlocked her car. They really had no idea who they were dealing with in there. "Did they?" Harrington remarked, a hint of amusement breaking through his official demeanor. "They saw what they expected to see," Diana replied, opening her car door. A middle-aged woman in ordinary clothes. Invisible. Underestimated. Dismissed. "It's been my best protection for 15 years. Until today," Harrington pointed out, "when you chose to reveal your skill." Diana paused, considering his observation. "Some things are worth revealing yourself for. Classified technology in civilian hands is one of them." Harrington nodded in understanding. "The analyst in you never really retired, did it?" "Some training you can't unlearn," she acknowledged. "But that doesn't mean I'm coming back." "The door is open," he said simply, stepping back as she started her engine. "The world is changing rapidly, Diana. Technology is evolving faster than policy can contain it. We need people who understand both the capabilities and the implications." As Diana drove away from Hawthorne Ridge, she reflected on the day's unexpected turns. Her cover wasn't completely blown. Most people had merely witnessed an impressive shooting display, not the full extent of her classified background. But the comfortable anonymity she'd cultivated for so long had been punctured. The campus was quiet when she arrived at her small office in the physics department. Most faculty having departed for the weekend, Diana unlocked the door and sat at her desk, surrounded by stacks of ungraded lab reports and the familiar, worn textbooks that had defined her second career. The predictable routine of academia had been her sanctuary after years of high-stakes operations. Yet alongside concern about her compromised identity, she felt something unexpected: relief. For 15 years, she had suppressed her exceptional abilities, hidden her expertise, diminished herself to avoid attention. Today, for a brief moment, she had allowed her true skill to surface, and it had felt surprisingly liberating. She removed the secure phone from her bag, examining it thoughtfully. Harrington wouldn't have approached her without authorization, which meant somebody in the agency still remembered her value. The phone represented a crossroads, return to a world of purpose and precision, but also pressure and moral complexity maintain her quiet life, teaching physics to uninterested undergraduates while keeping her extraordinary capabilities locked away. Diana opened her desk drawer, brushing aside paper clips and dry erase markers to create space for the phone. She placed it there rather than discarding it, a small acknowledgement that perhaps her self-imposed exile had served its purpose. The weight of past operations would always remain, but so too did her ability to make contributions that few others could match. She logged into her computer and pulled up the physics final she'd been preparing, but found her mind wandering to the Peregrine system, mentally calculating improvements to the predictive algorithm. Some instincts never faded. When her office phone rang, Diana expected it to be a student with last-minute questions before the weekend. Instead, she heard Tyler's voice. Tense, despite his attempt to sound casual. "They've detained Dr. Voss and the CTO," he reported without preamble, "and they're seizing all the prototype systems. It's getting intense." "Are you all right?" Diana asked, concern evident in her voice. "I'm fine. They verified I wasn't involved in the algorithm theft. But listen, that's not why I called. The military is taking over the project completely. They're calling it a national security issue now." Diana frowned. "That seems excessive for a sporting application." "That's just it," Tyler replied, his voice dropping. "I don't think it was ever meant for sporting applications. I've been reviewing the design specifications, the targeting capabilities, the adaptability." "Diana, I think Quantum was developing it for weapons systems, while using the sporting angle as cover for development." The implication was clear and troubling. "I'll look into it," Diana promised, her decision suddenly crystallizing. Some things were worth coming out of retirement for. As she hung up the phone, Diana's gaze fell on the secure device in her drawer. Some skills were too valuable to remain hidden forever, especially in a world where they could make a difference. Not on a battlefield this time, but in protecting the very technologies she had helped create from misuse. Diana smiled slightly as she recalled Maxwell Reed's shocked expression when her first shot had destroyed the unhittable target. Sometimes the most satisfying victories came not from overwhelming force, but from being persistently underestimated until the perfect moment to reveal one's true capability. She picked up the secure phone and dialed the only number programmed into it. "General, it's Walsh. About that consulting position,